So, I wanted to talk about Lin's defense, in particular, the reasons why he doesn't get enough respect as a defender. And knowing this is YouTube, before I get on to what I want to say, I want to just say that the reason is not because he's not a good defender. I know this is YouTube, so some people are going to try and be funny and deadpan and say that the reason is that he's not a good defender. Well, that's actually not the case, so I just wanted to address that so I don't see it in the comments. Anyway, going back to the preseason, on the night in which Beverly schooled Jrue Holiday and picked his pocket multiple times in a row, Beverly received a lot of attention, as he should have, because that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome string of events. Rarely do you see an NBA player get embarrassed like that, so that was pretty cool. The first time I saw Beverly play, I dubbed Beverly as an elite on-ball defender, even though at the time he was a no-namer. I didn't hesitate to use the word elite to describe a no-namer because I don't let my preconceptions get in the way of what I'm seeing in front of my eyes. However, on the same night, Jeremy Lin completely shut down Jrue Holiday, even before Beverly got to him. And Jeremy also had 3 steals for the night in a short amount of time. But what Jeremy did that night defensively wasn't flashy, so that's why he doesn't get much attention for his defense. He's just a very smart defender. What he did on that night is what he does on most nights. He just stays in front of his man, putting pressure on the ball, but not in a frantic manner that could cause refs to call fouls. Beverly gets a little bit frantic, although he does it in a very controlled manner. The way Beverly defends reminds me a lot of Tony Douglas, except he is under control. Tony Douglas would just totally get frantic and get calls for fouls. But Jeremy Lin is very smart about staying in front of his man and giving him enough space, but also harassing him at the same time. Jeremy is very good at maintaining good spacing, and he gets into passing lanes quite a bit. He's very good at anticipating and helping out, but at the same time knowing when to lay off his man. I won't go into all the details, but if you want, you can check out my video. Jeremy Lin is a highly underrated defender. In this video, I just want to talk about the reasons why he's not considered a good defender or given enough respect as a defender. So on to the list of reasons. One of the reasons is that during Linsanity, there wasn't much to criticize Jeremy Lin on. So obviously defense is always a weakness for most NBA players, or that's an area you can always criticize, pretty much no matter what. So people wanted something to talk about, something to criticize Jeremy Lin on, and of course they fell onto defense because there wasn't that much to criticize him on. So the first time Jeremy Lin got on the scene, he was criticized for his defense, and that pretty much stuck with him. And so that's one of the reasons. If you recall in my other video, as well as video from Paul from Conservative New Media, Paul pointed out that at Golden State, Lin was actually seen as a defensive specialist. So Lin is actually considered a good defender before Linsanity. So I think during Linsanity is when he sort of earned this unfair reputation as a average or below average defender. Another reason that's somewhat related to Linsanity is that Mike D'Antoni's system encourages switching rather than fighting through screens. So a lot of Lin's reputation as a defender came during Linsanity when he played under Mike D'Antoni. And under Mike D'Antoni's system, he encouraged switching rather than fighting through screen and defending Mike D'Antoni is against man-to-man defense. When Mike Woodson took over, Lin's defense improved immediately and dramatically. And the only reason is that Mike Woodson has a different philosophy on defense than Mike D'Antoni. He would want his players to fight through screens, and he encouraged man-to-man defense rather than switching on defense. So it's really just the system. The change in the system is what caused Lin's defense to seemingly improve overnight. So I just want to point out that it's something that's outside of Lin that caused him to be perceived as an average or below average defender. It's because of Mike D'Antoni's system. And when Lin burst onto the scene, it was under Mike D'Antoni's system, so that reputation sort of stuck. That system of defending sort of stuck with him, and that reputation stuck with him. And that's one of the other reasons why he's not given enough respect as a defender. Another reason, as I mentioned earlier, is that Lin is a big help defender. It's probably because of his unselfish nature. I'm not sure, but if you help out on defense a lot, then there's a higher chance of you losing your man. It's similar to turnovers. If you're an aggressive attacking player, you're going to have more turnovers. It's just part of your game. So Lin's game on defense is to help out his teammates. And because he does that so frequently, there's a higher frequency of him losing his man. And so when people see Lin losing his man, they just point that out as a reason why he's a average or below average defender. But it's actually because he's out on defense a lot. And no matter how well you do that, and I think Lin helps out on defense as well as anybody. But no matter how well you do that, if you do it so often, you're going to lose your man. That's just the nature of the game. Another reason is preconceptions. Of course, this is something that's a big part of Lin, no matter what you're talking about. So the fact that he's Asian from Harvard, unless he's 7'20", people assume that he can't shut down NBA players. So it's this preconception that people can't get past, and that's why they just see him as an average or below average defender, because they just don't see how an Asian guy from Harvard is going to be able to stop an NBA player. Final reason why Lin is not given enough respect as a defender is something called reticular activating system, which I'll refer to as RAS for short. I want you to do a little experiment. Just look around the space you're in right now and identify everything you see around you that is red. I'll give you a few seconds to do this. Now close your eyes. How many things did you see around you that is the color blue? Most likely you can come up with too many items that is of the color blue. The reason is that your attention was focused on finding out items that is of the color red, since that's what I told you to look for. So RAS is a very important mechanism that we all have that regulates a lot of systems such as our sleep cycles and things like that. But one of the things I wanted to focus on, so this is what RAS does, is that it helps you focus your attention on the things that you're interested in, but in the process it filters everything out, so you don't notice things that lie outside of your area of focus. RAS is responsible for strengthening our beliefs because it causes us to draw our attention to the things that we already believe, and in the process filters out all the things that do not support our beliefs. When it comes to Lin, because Lin has this perception that he isn't a good defender, which came from all of these things that I mentioned earlier. Because of this preconception that he's not a good defender, every time Lin's man gets past him, people notice it more because they're focused on it. People are looking for it. But the truth is in the NBA, the guy with the ball has the advantage. All NBA point guards are very much capable of getting past this man. It's just the nature of the mechanics of the body. It's much easier to move forward than to move backwards. The defender is often moving backwards, so is often at a disadvantage. For example, Lin gets past his man pretty much at will, yet people don't often talk about the weakness of the guy who's defending him. By the way, this applies to his reputation of not being able to go to his left, and also his reputation of being turnover prone. Basically, a lot of NBA players favor one side. For example, you rarely see Harden go to his right, and Harden actually turns the ball over way more. But when Lin turns the ball over, a lot more people recognize that because it has become a thing with Lin, whereas it has not become a thing with the other players. So they don't really look for that, but they look for it with Lin. So because of people's perceptions of Lin as not a very good defender, they're focused on every time Lin gets passed by his man, and so that sort of perpetuates people's belief, and it makes their belief even stronger that he's not a good defender. When in fact this happens pretty much to every NBA player. Every NBA player gets blown past, some more than others, but it pretty much happens all the time. So all this being said, I think people's perceptions of Lin's defense is slowly starting to change as they see more and more evidence of him being a good defender. For example, in the recent game against the Blazers, the commentators talked a lot about Lin's great defense on Lillard. So that's slowly chipping away at the perceptions of him being an average or below average defender. Mikal also, at a lot of press conferences, emphasizes Lin's defense. So I think this is also going to help a lot of Rockets fans realize that Lin is actually a very, very good defender. I think this season people will recognize even more Lin's defensive abilities, and hopefully he will get the recognition he deserves as one of the better point guard defenders in the league. As always, thanks for listening, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, thumbs up, thumbs down, and please subscribe to my channel. Thanks.